Hi, Carmen here. Have you ever wondered where the word quarantine comes from? I wanted to know, and here's what I found out. Now, the practice of keeping sick people apart from healthy people has been in practice for hundreds and hundreds of years. But the word quarantine actually comes from medieval Italy. And this was a time around the middle of the 1300s where the Black Plague was running right through all of Europe. This was the bubonic plague, or the Black Death, and this is a bacteria that mostly was carried by rats. And rats helped spread it because they liked being on sailing ships. And if they were on a sailing ship, they would infect all the food that was on the ship, and then all the people on there would get infected, and then they would infect each other, and then they would infect the people on the shores where they landed. Now, these ships were through trading routes because people had stuff to sell. And it started off in Asia around 1346 or 7. And then it came all the way through here, and these ships, they went through that way, down through Egypt, up there past Greece and where Italy was at the time, through Sicily, from Sicily onto the mainland of the Libya. They bounced over here, up through France, up that way. And then through France up there to like England. So, I mean, it spread. It was huge. And like China over on the other side there, the Middle East. It was amazing. And this was so deadly that it killed like a third of the population. Like almost 1 out of every 3 people died from this. So, Italy had to deal with this. And then they realized when things were coming back again, because trade, you come the other way, right? So the ships started to come back, and they knew that these other places were infected. And they also knew, they didn't understand so much bacteria, but they understood that being close to each other would spread it. So they said, okay, all you ships from the places that have this, you're going to stay off of the shore for like 30 days so that maybe this thing will stop. And so that became a law. It became something called the Trentino, because that means 30. And they would keep things off the shores for that amount of time to be safe. And other places thought that this was so cool. They had their own laws over in France and Spain and Greece. And then they decided after about 80 years or so that maybe 30 days wasn't long enough, and they upped it to 40. And that's where our word comes from, because 40 in Italian is quaranta. And that's not very clear. Quaranta. And the word for day in Latin is dies. So they called it the quarandias, and that's where we get the word quarantine today. Now you know.